A very good evening to all our viewers, and welcome to Thursday's edition of the Evening Review. My name is David Jabala, your host. Let's look at Friday's edition, Friday headlines in Namibian Sun. Swapo female presidential debate rages on. There is such a huge talk right now that it's time that a woman is appointed, or rather elected, as Swapo presidential candidate. And we saw founding president Sam Nujoma, whose birthday ironically is today, also saying it's time for that. So Netumbona Ndindaipa also speaking on Eagle FM this week that she's ready for that race. So see, San people living in Ohangwena Way, that is a lot of the community of San people in Ekoka village in Okongo, who are now, of course, living according to the norms of people in that area with the assistance of government. And people are asking whether that is how they should live or they should live their own way. Finally, GIPF faces another investment scandal. We saw a post by Joba Mpanda earlier in the day about some investment that seemed to have gone wrong. And there are different institutions, including NAMFISA, that are investigating that issue. Details of those three stories and other items are in Friday's edition of Namibian Sun. Tonight on the show, we are joined by Dalah Hapulile. We call her Dalah, that's why I'm getting confused a little bit. She is a member of the Swapo Party Youth League Central Committee, and she's just here to weigh in on some of the issues that are currently doing rounds as far as the league is concerned. Dalah, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Toivo. It's my pleasure to be here.
Wonderful. So, so much is going on. There was a Central Committee meeting recently. You were in attendance. And you were, I suppose, part of the collective that endorsed the secretary and the deputy secretary. And we are hearing now that there are people who wanted to stand also, but couldn't be endorsed or anything to that effect. What can you tell us about what transpired?
Thank you very much, Toivo. And I'm delighted to be here on this day today. As you said, it's the birthday of the founding father and our founding president. So amongst other leaders, also Prof. Kachavivi's birthday as well as
Really?
Toby Aupun. Yes, it is. Oh, okay. So we are celebrating. It's a important day. But back to the question, we had a very successful Central Committee meeting. We were blessed to have our leaders there at our meeting, both the Secretary General as well as the President were in attendance for the official opening, which was very successful. After that, we had our closed door session, and we deliberated on a lot of matters, and it was a successful meeting, that's I can say.
It's all that you can say. In fact, before we go into that, there's somebody who told me that you suggested to the president when he came over to the meeting for the party to weigh in on naming the party headquarters to something. Are my sources correct? What did you say?
Oh, well, Toivo, I must then put it in context that I'm not here as the official spokesperson of the party.
You are a member of the party and you have a view. You are allowed to have a view.
Yes, I'm allowed to have a view, hence my presence here.
Yes.
But then in terms of the deliberation and what transpired, I cannot really elaborate on that. But we ask questions, and this is not really about me as a person, but about us as a collective. We ask issues, and the reason why it's a closed-door meeting is that we are young people. We have ways on how we do things as a party, because we are a wing of the party. We are not an independent organization on its own. So we are a wing, and the party allows for platforms like that, where we engage our leaders, where we advise, where we get also advice, where they communicate things to us and we communicate to them. So suggestions are made, opinions are expressed, and advice given, and we also guided. So from my view, where I'm standing, I might have a perception which might not be right, and it's on platform like that with the leadership that you get to be enlightened on the thought process of our leader, because oftentimes you only get the outcome on where we are going, but in terms of what is the justification or the rationale on why we are moving in that direction. And really it was in that context that, you know, I made a suggestion, and then feedback was given as where we are, what informs the certain action, which also just equip us as transmitting belt on how to formulate our advocacy and mobilization, and also how to communicate our message out there to fit the audience that we serve.
Yeah, it's good. At least you agree that you made that suggestion. So my sources were not completely.
No, I said the discussion we made. I did not say which specific question I've asked, but I am an active citizen.
But I asked you a specific question, and you said it was in that context that you said what you said. So it means that, but it's okay. I think it's a brilliant idea for me personally, because, and I don't want to labor the point, but I'm just saying that the Swapo Party headquarters, it would be too boring just to say Swapo Party headquarters. I mean, it's a revolutionary movement with so much history, with so many personalities, so many chapters of its existence. So you are spoiled for choice as to what name you can actually give the party. So I'm saying that it was a brilliant suggestion, whatever. I mean, the concept itself, not necessarily the name that you might have had, but the idea that you had, I think, is good.
No, thank you very much, Toivo. And I would also just like to put that into context, that I ask a question, like I said, or I ask questions amongst other in a closed-door meeting, and from where I'm standing. So as we are standing now, I do not even know the intention of the party, whether they intend on naming it, because we do name, like even the Ministry of the Mirko is named Arthur Thilben. We have a culture of naming, and it's the culture that was set, hence my recommendation. So it could be misinformed. It could be something that the party is already doing. I have not seen it.
The party's headquarters is already written.
But it is the headquarters, but it's named, just like the Ministry of Information is written there, but the building itself, what is the name of the building? We have even institution, and within there we have the Kobambo Hall, we have University of Namibia, within that we have, different names. So I really don't want to labor on that point, as I do not have a context of exactly what we are planning. And the Secretary General, who's the person mandated to inform us on the administration of the party, in due time will inform us, we'll get a tour, and I think it was just my excitement that drove me to speak.
Yes, it's good. It's good. I say that it's a good idea, and it's particularly also good that young people can engage their leaders at every level and on almost every subject. It's important. As opposed to be cowed into, the president is in the building, we must now just listen to the president or the SG or whoever it is. But back to the Youth League, the discontent, you've been following, obviously, there's a letter written by Timothy Sangala to Secretary General Safia Shaningwa saying he's not happy with the way the matters were handled. And I'm asking you a general question to say, do you think, as a leader, being a CC member, of course, that makes you a leader, do you think that the process that was followed is correct and legal? Because one of the issues that are being raised is to say the renewal of mandates of the various branches, sections, or whatever structures of the Youth League are still ongoing. Yet the process of nominating people has already taken place. What if the ideal candidates are actually in the structures that are being still, whose mandates are still being renewed?
Okay. Well, I have heard of this content in terms of media, but as a member of the Central Committee, I have not seen anything. But I would also like them to elaborate or to put the fact from my view, into context, because I think sometimes it could be misinformation on or the way the message was conveyed. But you have to understand that we as a party, Swapo is an organization that comes a long way. And we are so fortified that we are in the regions. We exist in sections, branches, district, and we have regional structure. And all those structures, they are bodies and they're supposed to congregate. The Central Committee is the highest decision-making body in until Congress. So we are literally the national leaders. Now, the structure is set in such a way that we meet, and that our composition, there are some leaders who are elected, including myself, who are elected at Congress, and then you have representative from the regions. And then among ourselves, when we congregate, the first meeting, we elect a NEC, which then perform the day-to-day administration function on our behalf. So we then, as a member of the Central Committee, which constitutionally is only required to meet once a year, unless of course the issues on the ground necessitate for us to meet longer, we trust that we appoint relevant people in the structure administratively that will handle our day-to-day administrative issues. So that meeting, like all other meetings, NEC presented a report. And in that report, we among the report was the nominations that they nominated candidates. And as a matter of principle, we as a Central Committee agree that for nominations, because I am in agreement that we want as many young people, and it's always about getting the right people, because we must all admit, and we've all admitted collectively as a party and as a nation, that we are faced with challenges, and we as a liberational movement have actually challenges that also comes naturally, which include transformation from a liberational movement to a party, a political party, to a party positioning itself to address modern challenges and grooming 21st century leaders. So from that understanding, we then say that we can allow 3 nominations per position. And then should we have more than that, then we decide among ourselves to filter it to at least 3, so that the whole Congress is not just boiling down to election, but we also actually discuss policy and issues that are affecting us, given that most of our tenure was spent on, there was COVID, and we were faced with the issue of restructuring, unifying a force as a youth league, because we are emerging from a 2017 divided Congress. So it is that the report of NEC had only one candidate for every position. In terms of that, for the positions, there was one name for the position of secretary and one name for the position of deputy secretary. The floor was open for any other nomination to come from the floor. We got a name that emerged from the floor, but it was not seconded to qualify as a nomination. So then there was one position, one candidate for every position, and one is sole, right? And hence the sole candidate. So we accepted the nomination of NEC. So Central Committee, it was not in those we limit this position, must go. No, it was a nomination that came, which was accepted. And if there were 2 or 3 had more, as long as there were less than 3, we would have just allowed all of them to go through. But it's rather that it only one nomination emerged, we accepted it. They were nominated on the ground, and also they qualify by virtue of the position being the interim. They qualify automatically to be there. So we accepted the nomination and then conveyed as such.
Yeah. When we are going for a break now, Dalah, when we come back, you must give us the chronology of what comes first. Is it renewal of mandates before nominations, or can nominations happen while the renewal of mandates are still pending? That is after this break. We continue with Dalah Hapulile, who is the Central Committee member of the Swapo Party Youth League. My question.
Yes.
Which one comes first?
Okay, Toivo, I'm speaking from my position and the power vested me as a member of the Central Committee.
Yes.
And also with an understanding that we have a system in place and a party. Now, we are structured in such a way that we are well positioned and well equipped to make informed decisions. Hence, there is a national executive member which form part of our meetings and they report to us. And we have regional secretaries of those regions. Now, at those regions, we expect regional secretaries to have we have regional executive committee where they meet where there's regional, and then that the composition of the regional executive committee also include the district and it feeds. So it's a chain. That's why we say Swapo is a movement. It's not just a sole person or one person. It's a movement. It's a force. Hence, then we have the power as Central Committee to nominate, but we are fed. It's not what I feel as Ndafa, my opinion, but being entrusted by the youth. And we cannot all be. We are a mass movement. There are a lot of young people who we represent, and they entrusted a few of us to represent their voice, and they entrusted that if we are in the room, their interests will be represented. Now, we also entrust the regional secretary to convey the messages of the regions. Now, with that understanding, after receiving the report of no name came from any regional secretary, right? And even the nomination that emerged was not from a regional secretary, it was from a member. But it's so democratic that even me, as just by virtue of being a member, I can convey a nomination. So a nomination that comes from the region through all those structures comes to the Central Committee. Now, the renewal of mandate, those administrative issues. I am a leader and we make informed leaders based on the information that we get. Now, with that information, when we made that decision, that was the correct, follow the correct procedures. Now, while it is true that we did that, it could be, that maybe if there was an error, it's something that comes after. So now if there are really issues that maybe one of us, there are certain things that we overlooked because so far we have complied. We are in time. And we have set the date as required for the Congress. We have position. We have accepted nomination for that. And the regions were in the meeting. No name came. Now I cannot speak to why no name came because I'm not the regional secretary, and I can only speak based on myself as a member of the Central Committee and our informed decision based on the information that we had at hand. So what you are speaking to, really at this point, I cannot answer correctly because I have not seen any petition so far of someone left out. But at the time of the meeting, we did not have any. The secretaries were there. Now, if there are people from the branches who are not accommodated, then those should be taken up in the district and at the region. We need to hold our leaders accountable. We need to attend meetings because oftentimes it always surprised me how during elections that young people and people become more visible. But when you want to carry out activities of the parties, when you want to mobilize people, when you want to educate and provide service to the people, the young people are not there. Elders have been complaining that we are not present in the structure, we are not attending meeting, but election, then we suddenly attend. So if you don't attend, you do not convey your message, you are not there, but you only come and you fight for position, then it kind of confirms this notion that young people, are just position driven and not really issue driven. And the issue at the moment is that we are dealing with a lot of issues as young people, and I expect that to be the agenda. I expect you to come ask me here, what are your focus on? What is the Swapo Youth League political programs? That's what I expect. Not to be discussing a nomination and whatever, because those are position issue.
Because what has been making headlines is not those things that you are talking about. What has been making headlines and people are questioning is exactly what I'm posing to you. And but anyways, the Secretary General of the party, Sophia Shaningwa, even recently she was addressing, I think it was the Elders Council, who just had their nominations themselves recently. Prior to that Central Committee meeting of theirs, they were urged by the SG to say, you have to sort out the renewal of mandates first. It's in black and white in the papers. So I do not know. So it means to me, the way I interpreted it, is that renewal of mandates must precede the Central Committee nominations and stuff like that, because once you know who are the people in those structures, you also then know who among those people are capable, possible candidates. Now, in this case, with you guys, the young ones, you seem to have put the donkey or the cart before the donkey, as it were, in whatever. So that is exactly why I'm putting this question, because the discontent is not that the platform was not opened up. Angala was nominated from the floor. So in terms of that, I have no question about it. But what if the regions had some other better candidates for you? But I'm contextualizing my question to say this is what I'm asking. But let's move on in the interest of time. The Youth League, the youth in general in our country are such a huge population. I keep saying that the youth have the biggest voting bloc. They have the single biggest power to change the course of our country. What kind of influence would the League play as we head into the Swapo Congress itself? What kind of role would the League play? Are you going to swing things in favor of one candidate or the other? What is likely to be the impact of the Youth League in the party's Congress? Okay,
before I answer that question, I would like to just speak on the issue that you spoke to in terms of what comes first, right? Yes. We must be careful not to confuse things or get things mixed up. A nomination is just a nomination. Right? Renewal of mandate is renewal of mandate. The same way that we are nominating people for that position is the same way that we will be nominating leaders for those, electing and nominating leaders for those. So this is all the same. Now, the performers of these tasks are different, right? Now, we, as responsible leaders of the Central Committee, we accepted that. We did not say that the regional secretaries were there. Now, if there's such a thing where they are not done, or they said something that they feel that would still emerge from there, they did not bring it there. Now, if they bring it later, right, we are even in the process of formulating our documents. We are busy with document preparation for Congress. So this was not Congress. And those are candidates. They still have to be vetted. They still, so I really do not understand that point, because the regions, even the next Central Committee, where we are going to look at the documentation and prepare for Congress, because this meeting was not about the Congress. This meeting was for us to review the report of the regions and NEC. And among the report for NEC did their part. They have the right to nominate, and they are required. The region, what happens in the region comes from the regions. Then the region secretary, then that maybe if there's an oversight, it's there. But we are not saying that mistakes cannot happen. And I'm not saying that those ones that feel like that are wrong, but there are avenues for them to go. The regions are meeting. They meet on a monthly basis. They're supposed to, and if they happen, the message should be conveyed. We are open. If there are really issues of where there is someone that wanted to stand qualified, because we all want something. I also want a lot of things, but am I qualified? Am I capable? So there's a difference between wanting and capable. But if they are, and the secretaries, we are open to self-correction, restoration. We are young. You can fall, you make a mistake, but the aim is to grow, to learn and unlearn. And as young people, we can afford that, and we are ready to be corrected and do things right. That's if we were found to be wrong. But what I can say is, where we made that decision, we did not even endorse, we accepted, and we are ready to accept. We want capacity. If someone feels there is more there, we will accept.
Your influence at the Swapo Congress?
our influence is that that we are young people, and you say that we have the numbers. And one thing that I think is visible now, and that's why we are even having this conversation of people feeling excluded, because we have managed to achieve one of the things that a lot of people failed before. And as much as a lot has been said about our leadership, we took over from a very divided house. There were a lot of paranoia, there were a lot of issues among people. There were some, even myself, I was called independent candidate for it. But we are forced now, united, and we are ready. We have a generational agenda. We know what we want as a generation. We have crafted our path, and we are ready collectively.
Woman or male candidate for the Swapo Party?
Do we have any candidate at the moment?
No, I'm saying there will be. So which one?
So let's deal with it when we are there. What comes first, Toivo? What comes first? So
yeah, I mean, there's a huge debate now in the country about, the next president of the country must be female, or the next party presidential candidate must be female. What is your personal take?
My personal take is that we as a party have always pushed for inclusivity. We've always pushed for women empowerment. And the Swapo has always, throughout the structure, even during the liberation struggle, and even when we formulated government, on all fronts, women were always included. And what we are speaking to, and what the party is speaking to, and our leadership, which are guiding us and are speaking to, is inclusivity and intergenerational leadership. Now, females have always been, nobody was ever discriminated in Swapo for not participating at the position because of their agenda. But coming from a liberation movement and that setup, maybe some of our systems does not allow it. So it's a call for us to look at ourselves, evaluate our policies, and make it accessible in a way that is not appearing discriminatory in nature or in setup. So that is basically what we are open. So and we are ready, meaning that young women should be ready to call, because it's just men who were standing. It was only older people who were standing. Young people, why are you not standing? Is it an issue of the setup? Is it an issue of unavailability? Is it an issue of capacity? And let's look at that. So basically that is what we are talking about as a party. We are not talking about individual, but an enabling environment that ensure that we draw the best among us to address the challenges that we are currently facing as a party and as a movement that is continuously evolving to address the needs of the day.
Indeed. Dafa, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your input.
Thank you so much, Toivo. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. That was Dalah Hapulile. She is from the Swapo Party Youth League Central Committee, and she was just really weighing in on some of the topics that are currently making headlines in the country. Thank you for watching.